Welcome to Darkened Files, where the shadows speak. We uncover the untold stories behind domestic violence and brutal crimes, exposing the chilling truths hidden in plain sight. Real cases, real voices, no sugarcoating. If you're ready to step inside the darkest corners of reality, you're in the right place.
Kevin Horton, 3 years old, laughing on a swing with his cousin, a joyful little boy. Memphis police say his life was cut short by someone close to the family. That person was his dad's girlfriend, Dominica Mosby. She's accused of torturing and beating that child to death. How do you hurt a 3-year-old so badly and then write on Facebook, "I loved him like my own"? How do you burn a baby with cigarettes, stomp on his stomach with your boot, and then cry about being the bad guy? Dominica Mosby did exactly that. The one question Kevin's dad keeps asking is simple: why? Kevin was 3 years old, the sweetest baby. There's footage of him on a swing, just laughing, just a kid. That laugh would light up a room. That smile promised a life. He was supposed to grow up, go to school, play with cousins, live his life. His father, Keith Horton, was out there working, long hours, grinding to provide. Keith pulled shifts to keep things together. When you work like that, you need people you can trust. People who watch your kids while you hustle. Keith trusted Dominica Mosby. This wasn't just some stranger. This was his girlfriend, the mother of his 2 youngest children. When you have kids with someone, you think you know them. You think they'll protect your children the way you would. Keith believed that. He had to. He needed help. Dominica was supposed to be that help. Kevin wasn't her biological son. That didn't change what she'd promised. She took on responsibilities. She told people she was stepping up. She posted about it. She talked like she cared. "I took on responsibilities even when I didn't have to," she would later write on Facebook. But things didn't line up. Little signs started showing. Kevin's aunt noticed. Kevin stayed with her sometimes. She watched him. She loved him. When you love a child, you notice when something's wrong. She saw injuries that didn't look like ordinary teen play. Kids fall. Kids scrape knees. These marks were different. Once his lip was hurt. Once a bruise on his right cheek. A scratch on his left cheek. Separated incidents. Maybe explainable alone. Together they formed a pattern. The aunt worried. But what proof did she have? What could she say without ripping the family apart? She kept watching. She kept paying attention. Friday came. Kevin was at his aunt's. He was fine. Happy, healthy, playing like any 3-year-old. That afternoon he was dropped off at Dominica's. Keith was heading into a 16-hour shift. He needed Dominica to watch Kevin. She said, okay, she'd done it before. No reason to think this time would be any different, except everything was about to go wrong Friday night. Kevin was in Dominica Mosby's care. Just him and her. Keith was at work, thinking about getting home, thinking about rest, thinking about the kids. Normal life. Normal thoughts. That night was not normal. Kevin's aunt told investigators one thing clearly. Kevin was fine when he left her house. "My child was not sick when he left my sister out. My child was well. My child laid on my chest," Keith would later say, his voice breaking. Kevin had been fine, laughing, playing, being 3. Dominica told a different story. She told police Kevin wasn't feeling well when he arrived. She said he was vomiting, acting sick, not himself. She said she put him to bed because he needed rest. Just a sick kid who needed sleep, that was her claim. But here's the thing. Nobody else saw Kevin sick. Not his aunt, not his father, only Dominica. Make it make sense. Friday afternoon he was healthy. Saturday morning he was dead. What happened in those hours? What happened while Keith trusted his son was safe? The truth was worse than anyone imagined. What Dominica Mosby did to Kevin that night is hard to say, but the facts have to be told. At some point that night, she burned him with a cigarette. He was 3. He didn't understand. The pain overwhelmed him. He lost control and wet the floor. He was a baby in agony, and his body reacted the only way it could. Dominica's response, according to investigators, was punishment. She used a lighter on him. She later admitted to hitting Kevin on his torso and chest with both a closed fist and an open hand. She beat him because he wouldn't lie down. A 3-year-old, hurt and terrified, was hit for not staying down. Then she stomped on his stomach with the heel of her boot. She stomped him so hard it caused fatal internal injuries. Do you understand what that means? He was bleeding inside. Kevin Horton was being harmed to death in that house while his father worked. And according to Dominica's own confession to police, she believes Kevin was already dead by the time she went to sleep that night. She knew. She went to bed knowing the child was gone. Saturday morning, about 3:20 a.m., Keith's phone rang. He was near the end of his 16-hour shift, exhausted, ready to go home. The call came. Something was wrong with Kevin. Keith's voice on that call says everything. I'm at work. Why you didn't notify me that my child was throwing up? My child was not sick when he left my sister out. My child was well. My child laid on my chest. He didn't understand it. Kevin had been fine, healthy, happy. Now someone told him his son was gone. Keith clocked out. He left work right then. He drove to the house on Beacon Hills Road. It was around 3:20 inches the morning when he pulled up. Dominica stood outside. The fire department was already there. Emergency crews were inside. Keith went in and saw his boy on a bed. When I go in there and see my son, lifeless. His 3-year-old was dead. Keith tried to make sense. How does a healthy child go from playing on a swing to lifeless overnight? How does that happen? I want to go talk to her. He had a lot of questions, but the one that replayed was the same. Why? Why? That is the question that haunts every parent in this situation. Why? What did my child do to deserve this? Why would someone hurt him? Why didn't I see it coming? Why did I trust her? At first, Dominica stuck to her story. She told police Kevin wasn't feeling well when he was dropped off Friday, said he was vomiting, said she put him to bed around 3 in the morning and found him unresponsive. Just a tragic situation with a sick child. That's what she wanted everyone to believe. He never was sick. That just was like a story for her to get her story together, Keith would later say. The medical examiner wasn't buying that. When they examined Kevin's body, the truth came out. This was not a sick child who passed in his sleep. This was a homicide. Kevin Horton had been murdered. The medical examiner found internal injuries, bleeding in his abdomen, bruising across his torso, and burns. This baby had been tortured. Confronted with the evidence, Dominica's story fell apart. Eventually, she confessed. She admitted the cigarette, the lighter, the beating, the stomping. She told investigators what she did to Kevin Horton that night. She knew what she had done. And then, before she was even arrested, Dominica took to Facebook. You just broke my heart, Kevin. I love you, boy. I can't take today 2 loses at one time. My head is hurting, God. Please help. She was already shaping a public victim story. She posted again. I've been none but good to everybody, and help even when I couldn't help myself. But to be lied on and blamed for something is a different kind of hurt feeling. I took on responsibilities even when I didn't have to. But for the main person to have others look at me like the bad guy is insane. People acting like I'm not hurting too. I'm not hurting too. She posted one more time. I loved like my own, and provided as well. But to try and get blamed for something isn't right at all. When he left, he was fine, but came back to my care. He wasn't feeling good or acting the same. So let's get this straight. She had confessed to police about harming Kevin. And she was on Facebook acting like she was being set up, acting like people were accusing her unfairly, acting like she was in mourning. Make it make sense.
Yeah, this little boy's father says he never thought the woman he trusted, the woman who's actually the mother of his 2 youngest children, would ever harm his son, but he says that's exactly what happened, and now he's faced with the difficult task of planning a funeral.
I'm at work. I'm at work, fool. Why you didn't notify me that my child was throwing up? My child was not sick when he left my sister out. My child was well. My child laid on my chest.
Keith Horton was nearing the end of a 16-hour shift Saturday morning when he got a call no parent should ever have to answer. His 3-year-old son, Kevin, who he left in the care of his girlfriend, Dominica Mosby, was dead.
And then you notified me that he had passed. I done left the job. I done clocked out, left the job. I made it to the house like 3:20. I get to the house, she's standing outside. I got the fire department people in the house. When I go in there and see my son, he ice cold, he purple.
Initially, Kevin was questioning how a healthy little boy with an infectious laugh and his entire life ahead of him could go from this to lifeless overnight.
I want to go talk to her. It's a lot of questions, but the only one I know is why.
At first, Mosby told police Kevin wasn't feeling well when he was dropped off from his aunt's house Friday.
He never was sick. That just was like a story for her to get her story together.
Mosby said she put the toddler to bed, then woke up around 3 a.m. to find him unresponsive. But the medical examiner revealed the truth, far more disturbing. And eventually, police say Mosby confessed to torturing little Kevin to death. She told police she put a lit cigarette out in his ear. The shock and pain caused the 3-year-old to pee on the floor. Police say Mosby then burned his genitals with a lighter, then slapped, punched, and stomped on the little boy. She told police she believes he was dead by the time she went to sleep.
When I tell you that baby was full of, and the sweetest baby, he was so sweet, it don't even feel right to see all the other kids playing. And he ain't here with us.
On November 16, 2025, Dominica Mosby was arrested and booked into the Shelby County Jail. The charges were first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, and aggravated child neglect. She was held without bond while the case moved forward. Her first court appearance was set for November 18th, 2 days later. The evidence against her was overwhelming. Her confession, the medical examiner's findings, the pattern of injuries Kevin's aunt had seen, the lies she told, then the truth she admitted. There was no way around it. Dominica Mosby had tortured a 3-year-old child to death. What makes this worse is she wasn't a stranger. She was someone Kevin's father trusted, someone who was supposed to be family, someone who helped raise Kevin's siblings, someone who was supposed to protect him. Keith had to live with the loss and the betrayal. The woman he shared his life with had killed his baby. How do you even begin to understand that? How do you move forward knowing you left your child with someone who would do this? Kevin should have been running with his cousins. He should have been learning to ride a bike. He should have been at birthday parties and starting school. All the things 3-year-olds do. He'll never do them. Now the family plans a funeral. Keith must bury his 3-year-old while the mother of his other children sits in jail charged with murder. The community rallied. A GoFundMe started to help with funeral costs. People wanted to help because this kind of tragedy hits everybody. When a child dies like this, it's not one family's pain, it's the whole neighborhood's pain. Kevin's death is a reminder. Monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look like someone you know, someone you trust, someone you build a life with. Dominica presented herself as someone who stepped up. She posted she wanted credit, but behind closed doors, she was capable of cruelty. Kevin's aunt saw the signs, but what could she do? How do you accuse someone without proof? How do you tear a family apart over suspicion? People end up stuck when abuse hides in plain sight, but hides enough that you can't pin it down. The lesson here is clear. Listen to your gut. When something feels off, when injuries don't add up, when a child changes, pay attention. Ask questions. Push for answers. Waiting and hoping it's nothing can cost a child their life. Keith Horton is living every parent's worst nightmare. He went to work to provide and came home to find his son dead. He trusted someone he shouldn't have, and now he has to live with that forever. He didn't do anything wrong. He was trying to work and survive and take care of his kids. But Kevin paid the price. 3 years old. A whole life ahead. Gone because the person who was supposed to watch him chose to harm him. Kevin's aunt said it best. When I tell you that baby was full of and this sweetest baby, he was so sweet. It don't even feel right to see all the other kids playing and he out here with us. That's what this case is about. A child who should still be here. A baby who should be running and laughing and living. Instead, his family plans a funeral. His father asks why. A community wonders how this could happen. Dominica Mosby will face the court. The legal system will do what it does. No verdict, no sentence will bring Kevin back. Nothing will give Keith his son. Nothing will let Kevin's aunt see him play with his cousins again. This is what domestic violence looks like when children are involved. It's not always a partner hurting a partner. Sometimes it's a partner hurting a partner's child. Those children can't protect themselves. They can't leave. They can't call for help. They depend on the adults around them to keep them safe. Kevin Horton deserved better. He deserved to live. He deserved adults who would protect him, not harm him. Every child in that situation deserves the same. That's why we tell these stories. Not to sensationalize, but to make people pay attention. Trust your instincts. Speak up when something feels wrong. Protect the children who can't protect themselves. Kevin Horton's life mattered. His death matters. If telling his story saves even one child, then his memory will have mattered. Rest in peace, Kevin. You deserved so much better.
Initially, Kevin was questioning how a healthy little boy with an infectious laugh and his entire life ahead of him could go from this to lifeless overnight. Disturbing. And eventually, police say Mosby confessed to torturing little Kevin to death. She told police she put a lit cigarette out in his ear. The shock and pain caused the 3-year-old to pee on the floor. Police say Mosby then burned his genitals with a lighter, then slapped, punched, and stomped on the little boy. She told police she believes he was dead by the time she went to sleep.
When I tell you that baby was full of, and the sweetest baby, he was so sweet. It don't even feel right to see all the other kids playing. And he out here with us.
Mosby is charged with first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, and aggravated child neglect. Her first court appearance is scheduled for this Thursday. As for the family, they're now planning a funeral. So if you're interested in helping out, donating to the funeral expenses, head to our website, fox13memphis.com. We have a link to their GoFundMe.
Yeah, that is hard to listen to. Just where's the humanity? Dominique Dillon live in the newsroom.